COVID-19 regulations for enabling, probably the longest or the second longest bongo solo in book history. The longest one was probably yesterday, but today it's all being recorded thanks to Ugo here on the camera. Thank you so much. Good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Great to have you all here. Almost full house, except there's like these tooth gaps, which the dentist, if you have the money for an expensive dentist, could fill up. And on the seats, I can see some very special people here tonight, which is a great honor for me. First and foremost, I have to point there, where my family is sitting, or parts of my big family. My brother, my brother and my sister also in the house. And my sister-in-law also here. Always good to start with some applause. Of course, for me this has a certain historic significance to have you guys here, because when you have like a brother and a sister and you're like the middle child, there's always a certain battle for attention. I think I've kind of won it, at least for tonight. But feel free, this is the stage. Stage is yours. Yeah, and staying with the family theme, up there is my dear aunt. Great to have you there. Don't hide. Like with sisters and brothers, it's like intense, ferocious blood bounce. With aunties, it's like more comforting, soothing. She always like serves me this great like Topfen Gulaschen and things like that. So thank you very much. Maybe I might actually need something like that during the show. So good to know that you're there. And then, actually there's so many people, like also here I want to point out my physiotherapist, private physiotherapist, Marita. She's really, I can really recommend, she's the best one. If it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't be standing here. But don't have any hopes. She's actually not taking on any more new clients. I was kind of the last one who got through the door, and I'm taking all her hours now. Marita, by the way, don't be too critical of my posture tonight. I'll do my best to follow your advice, but you will see in the second show there will be people with perfect bodies, postures, movements, coordination, breathing patterns, everything. Everything a physiotherapist possibly want. Yeah, and then last not least, some old school friends have come here. My friend Julie in the first row, like sitting in the first row of primary 6 or something, or in art class. Julie was always the art leader, so with her drawings. So really good to have you here and your supportive karma in the first row. And I also should point out some very dear friends up in the top left corner. They are my former flatmates. They actually deserve some applause because they are not the normal kind of flatmates. They're socialists actually. Socialists, right on. It was like they're still actually living in the flat share. I had to move out for technical reasons. 8 people, there were 8 people in that flat, and I think there still are, or 9 or 10. Like every 2 years the police would come and do like a body count of who is actually really living there. Quite a mess, to be honest with you guys, the place. And what really made me move out, I have to say, is that once I plugged the toaster in and there was this big spark coming out, and I thought better to get out before it's too late. Think of that. Now where I'm living now, and that's funny that they're sitting in the first row and the socialists are sitting in the last row. Now I'm living on my own, really great house in the green, and these are my neighbors here. They have the whole first floor for themselves. Like in a space where we would live with 8 people, everything just for 2 people, super comfortable. I'm living above them, it's always quiet, clean, calm, and now we have actually a swimming pool. We're not allowed to use it yet, but have you been in it yet? No. It's been like, I think they still have to fence it in somehow. Yeah, and of course, lots of special people. Somehow that, I guess, means that everyone else is maybe not so special. Like, I don't know. Yeah, actually, well, I was about to point out some non-special people, but I think here are also some curators sitting here. Curators in the second row. Yeah, that's where I want to be playing, putting my focus there, singing for my supper. Yeah, but I don't know, who's like you could be like just anyone. Or I don't know. Like over there, just people looking like that, masks. It could be completely someone else. But I do appreciate all the ordinary people here, ordinary taxpayers, I hope. Taxpayers, you are the ones who are making this all possible for the special people here tonight. Yeah, big applause for the ordinary people. Cheers to them. Yeah, and finally I should probably introduce the most special person of all in this vast space here, which is myself. My name, Fabian Leopold Falten, and amongst many of my qualifications, I am the man who has cut this wood here. Yeah, this is birch wood. And it's amazing wood, actually, because it has a really high oil content. Yeah, that's not what you usually hear, but that's why I'm here, to tell you some interesting things. Very high oil content, which means it burns super well. It's used a lot for energy. Like in Scandinavia, in these saunas everywhere, birch wood is being fired away by the cubic meter. And yeah, it's also, because of its high oil content, it's hygienic wood, great for these little sanitized chiplets, which you have in playgrounds and dogs areas, or sometimes it's like an overlap, children and dogs together, but they're all safe thanks to these like soft birch wood chips. Yeah, and last but not least, it's extremely beautiful wood, as you can see here. Long, graceful limbs, a bit like my own. And it has these beautiful black oriental etchings, which I don't have, but it could be like from a Japanese master, like birch wood painting. And so this is why it's used a lot for home decoration. Home decoration, wherever you go, for example, Airbnb, anywhere in the world, you will find this little Scandinavian touch, like a little birchwood deco on the fireplace in Calcutta or somewhere, but it always kind of feels good, soothing Scandinavian. And yeah, birchwood, yeah, stage decoration, another big area for birchwood. We built a beautiful stage setup here with birchwood, really effective, simple, against the black background. And yeah, I know always in the performance scene, in theater, there are people who are into meditation, and you can actually do these great wood meditations. Joe, I hope this is okay, yes. So you go to like a birch tree and these long limbs, bring it up from your hips, Marita is watching. Kind of sway in the wind and so on and so forth, and then you kind of, your whole body starts in the swaying motion, and you kind of realize that when the tree is moving, the tree sap is moving, and the fluids in your body, like lymphatic fluids, saliva, blood, all of that could also just be tree sap. Like your body becomes like tree sap, and As you go down, you realize the sky goes all the way down to the floor. I mean, that's one thing you can really learn in meditation, that the sky begins down here. It's not up there, down here. That's why trees have roots, and yeah. But I'm not here to have this experience, I'm here to make it possible for you. And so maybe you too, I would like to give you a safe birchwood experience, which means I'm not coming closer than 2 meters, because that's the COVID regulation. And maybe you could just hold on to that. Yeah, that's very nice. And don't worry about touching, it's totally safe to touch. We've disinfected it and it has a flame retardant covering. Yeah, go for take it, please take the whole thing. Maybe share it a bit with your neighbors, yeah. Yeah, share with your neighbors and stroke it. Yeah, you want to stroke the birch wood. Yeah, keep it on your laps, interact with it, interface. What does it feel? What are you feeling? Smooth, yeah. That's called the flame retardant. It's like a little crystalline coating. What are you guys feeling? Anything? Okay. This is starting to get unsafe now. We don't want you to be passing it through. Okay, that's very unsafe, so maybe give it back again. Don't want. Joe is up there always watching here that no trespassing, no infection thing, but in your cluster, birchwood is allowed. Okay, we can do this afterwards. Yeah, I mean, I could really actually go on tonight, especially. I'm still really exhausted from yesterday. I could just go on forever. It would be really good to talk only about wood tonight. Do a little wood show, that would be good. But actually, I've come here tonight to talk to you about our economy and my family. Because, you see, every tree in this country belongs to the economy. And every economy belongs to the tree. But many trees actually belong to me and my family. You will see I come from a sort of dynasty. We don't only own and manage trees, we also have keys for houses and apartments inside and outside of Vienna. We don't only have trees, we also have doctoral degrees. We have stock. We have a boat. Memo to the ordinary people here. And that's not all, okay? Especially, we have access to a real castle. And I'm not talking like about an unreal, like inflatable plastic castle, which you see so often nowadays, like these playgrounds, shopping malls, hippie kind of children's castles stuff. No, a real castle, a chateau, a palace, in the dark woods outside of Hütteldorf. And all of this comes, as you will see, from a big, majestic family tree, which is stored for all eternity on this magnetic memory.
Fabian, can you hear me? This is the 1980s speaking. Welcome to the 1980s. The oil price is collapsing. Austrian steel workers are losing their jobs. Every month, 9,000 Japanese cars are rolling into Austria. The Austrian Green Party enters parliament for the first time. Fabian wants to be president. The Donald Trump of Austria, playing with his plastic shark. Fabian, what sparked your joy? Cappuccino doesn't exist yet in Austria. Fabian collects stickers and fish. He sells stones and pottery to his school friends. In Tokyo, Marie Kondo is still a baby, sitting in her bathtub. She's playing with rubber ducks and plastic fish. Plastic sashimi. Plastic sushi. Father Leopold is cooking eggs. A little squeaking sound comes from the shells. Father says there are live chicklets inside the shells. He has a PhD in nuclear physics. That is scary. Golden buns. Austrian cow butter. Fabian and his sister Flori also drink lots of Nestlé chocolate milk with special growth vitamins. They are growing fast and tall. She wants to be a dancer one day. It is cold outside. Radioactive clouds from Chernobyl cover the sky. The temperature in Vienna is -5 degrees. Squirrels are collecting nuts. A new brother has arrived. That is scary. Felix. Hooray. Hooray. 1-year-old. Fabian has to learn to share his shark. His mother has a PhD in German literature. She drives very fast for dinner, in a Japanese car. The little brother is eating a plastic bottle. The plastic tastes really good. The plastic in 1986 is fantastic. Bombastic. Thick and elastic. Plastic gives joy. The future is made from plastic. All children belong to the future. The future belongs to the children. The future is a world made of plastic and robots.
As you can see, turned out even more beautiful than they predicted. We have robots now. We have plastic, a lot of it. And in Austria, we have a median income of 2,371 euros before taxes, if you want to pay taxes. In a perfect social democratic society, that would be the ultimate limit. 2,371 euros. Everyone would be standing together on the median income line like this. We are very fortunate though that in Austria, being rich is also allowed. We are very lucky to have enterprising, ambitious, hardworking, talented and good-looking people. People like myself, who are working very hard to earn more and bring up the average income for everyone else. The average income in Austria today is over 3,300 euros, and the sky is the limit. We're not communists living in a cave. In 2019, Austrians together have produced 25.9 million cubic meters of wood. In 2019, Austria has attained the same mobile penetration rate as Taiwan, 125 active phones per 100 inhabitants. We're not living in the Stone Age anymore. In 2019, Austrian workers, collectively, with their sweat and blood and tears and the sweat of their hands, have produced 5.3 million tons of raw iron, which is also known as pig iron. Pig iron. Pig iron pig. And talking of pigs, pork, agriculture. Today, we are also eating more meat than in the 1980s. 96 kilograms per person, per head, per plate, per dinner table, per household. It's a lot of meat. It certainly is a lot of meat, including bones and pet food. And to meet this meat demand, we are currently slaughtering one pig every 9.1 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. If you're born today in Austria, your life expectancy is 79.7 years, almost 80 years, a staggering number. My sister-in-law, who is expecting a baby, and my brother is expecting the same baby, your baby is going to live until 2100. 2,100. Incredible number. If you stay in Austria, okay? In Austria, talking about Austria here, we have 28.9 intensive care beds, ICBs, with ventilators per 1,000 inhabitants, which is 50% more than in France, where they only have 16.9 ICBs with ventilators per 1,000 inhabitants. You go here at the camera, good luck to you if you're in Paris with your baguette, and virus comes, good luck finding an ICB. And where it gets really interesting is in India. They have 0.00275 ICBs per 10,000 inhabitants, 100,000, 1 million Indians. It doesn't seem to matter. There are so many Indians out there. really matters to me personally is that I am now 40 years old. And when I was born, back in the days, 1980, life expectancy was actually 10 years lower than it is today. 69.3 years. I'm going to live 10 years less than your baby. My brother, he's actually a bit lucky, he already got born a bit after me. My sister, kind of the same predicament. I asked my parents who were on the show yesterday, like, why couldn't they have waited for 40 years or like at least a bit more to benefit from these gains in life expectancy? Silence, yeah? Silence. But still, no need to complain. I am guaranteed, at least, by our government, as long as we have a government, to live for 30 more years. If I were to drop dead here in front of you, now, Joe up there, who's always totally on top of the security procedures, he would put the call, ambulance would come in under a minute. In 3 minutes, I'm up the road in the AKH. They whisk me up to the 9th floor, delivery room, 9C. They take your finger, take my finger, put it against the screen, make me sign for the ventilation, hook me up, ventilation begins, and off I go again. 30 more years. Like I could buy more mobile phones, could eat more pigs, and I could cut a lot more wood. That would be good, to cut a lot more wood. I reach the edge of the woodland. I see a gleaming white palace. In the distance, a sort of pleasure chateau. It sits in water, surrounded by a murky moat full of water lilies. Next to the moat, a parking. Taxis are pulling over. Black SUVs, limo doors popping open, closing with a muffled sound. Guests in white suits, wide-brimmed hats, faces hidden behind sunglasses, scuttling over a wooden bridge, disappearing into the chateau. Next thing I know, I stand amongst them. I cross that bridge, although my attire leaves much to be desired. Mingling amongst the guests, I'm carried into a big marble hall, high windows, ancient glass which has like ripples in it. A young servant approaches me, like really young, like you, 17, 18 years max. Stiffly gelled hair with insecure manners, holding a tray of sandwiches. And another servant comes with this kind of beige-colored, clunky hearing aid which you get from the Krankenkasse, with a summary aperitif served in a crystal clear glass flute. Small talk fills the air, and I am washed away by the bulk of mature bodies pushed to the walls. I don't think I know anyone here, but they do all look familiar. A bald man with dog's cheeks and a drooping head and impeccably polished black leather shoes steams past on a wheelchair, propelled by a beautiful young healthcare professional, a blouse with a nursing badge pinned onto it, glowing brunette hair that trickles down her back like a second spine in a single braid almost down to her buttocks. And the Botox ladies ignore her, of course. Elderly females, all feathered and masked, bodies hiding bulges in complex dress folds, carrying ultra-slim Chanel handbags that say, "I have everything. Do you dare to fill me up?" A white-haired man with a crooked back and an ironic captain's cap grasps my hand. He must be the master of ceremony. He gives me a shrewd, curious eye over. He looks at me and then he says, "Na schau, Kuckuck, ja grüß dich, hallo." We shake hands, our hands shaking hands, shaking, trembling hands, as if something is building between us. But nothing is. He shakes me off again. That's it. We shook hands. The moment is over. "Excuse me, please. TV is here. TV is here. Entschuldigung, der ORF ist da." Yes, police cars have pulled up in front of the windows, and one of these heavy grey-red ORF TV trucks that looks like the vehicles that bring fresh cash to the banks. TV, it's starting. You know how it is when you're in the forest and a branch falls down and there's this moment of silence. The birds stop singing, the woodpeckers stop pecking, the foxes stop foxing around, and so the small talk suddenly stops as Heinz Fischer, the former president of Austria, enters the hallway with his wavy 1960s hairdo, impressive plate-sized eyes, glasses sliding down his nose like he just had a conversation with Erasmus of Rotterdam. So strange, I have to say. After years of TV speeches and New Year's ceremonies and my own bathtub dreams of the presidency, to see this guy in real life. And even stranger to see, crawling behind him, the current president of the Republic, Dr. Alexander Van der Bellen, with his crumpled, out-of-bed look, the fading vitality of a retired village school teacher, but wearing the Golden Cross of the Republic. And behind him, a group of elderly men flood in through some kind of invisible back door. They must be the Austrian neo-royalty, executives, bankers, investors, scientific directors, advisors, diplomats, landowners, cattle ranchers, consultants, milk barons. And weirdly, these elderly men, they must actually be drinking a lot of milk because they all have these glowing, pinkish, young boys' faces. They look even younger than me. Maybe I should also start plastering myself with milk and yogurt and cucumbers, or visiting one of these salt caves in the 1st district. Or maybe I should just start earning real money, not just this blank white stuff that peels off the birch wood. I tell you, to be not an artist, but someone real, like a professor, pilot, architect, or a scientific counselor, presidential aide, a politician, why not? Or would that be too artificial? Has this presidential committee called me to their castle to announce once and for all that I have officially failed? Failed in some existential sense to produce economic value for this society. Henceforth condemned to make art that's valuable to median income outsiders like you all, but worthless to the pigs inside the system. Oh, hi. Hi.
Hello, Fabian. What are you doing here?
I'm part of the family, I guess. Who are you and how are you, Rachel? How are you?
Good. Drinky, drinky, drinky.
Well, that's the best way to get through these family things, right? I haven't seen you in ages. Like, what are you doing these days?
Oh, me. Nothing special. You are the artist living on the edge of society. You must have exciting stories to tell. What are you doing these days?
Oh yeah, well, I'm actually teaching. I've started a kind of part-time teaching position, which is great. So I have some time to write my book. I have a new book coming out now in next week, actually, in a small independent publisher. I think you can't get it here, but it's going to be good. And I'm doing some gardening jobs, wood cutting to pay the bills. And I've also been working on my forest yoga. It's a good practice. Recommended for anyone with back problems. And yes, I also got a grant, a theater kind of talent grant. It's like a casting show, where they select the best performance artists in Vienna. It's called Huggy Bears. You probably don't know it, but we're gonna do the best ones get to do a premiere next September, a theater premiere.
Oh, that sounds so exciting. will you put me in it?
Well, Rachel, you know, every extra person on stage costs the taxpayer extra money.
Oh, since I have my 4 little piglets to feed, I hardly ever go to the theatre anymore. We always give the adult tickets away. But I'll definitely be coming to your premiere.
Well, it's not exactly the Burgtheater. We're just going to be at the Book. It's like a low-budget kind of theatre.
The Book? Isn't that like an occupied factory? Like a trendy alternative place?
Yeah, it was a factory, like a factory for steam engines, actually. But that was 150 years ago. Now it's just like completely independent from capitalism. That means you have to do everything yourself. Like you write the play, you play all the roles, you do your own makeup, do the stage design, get some music from YouTube, learn the text, and you also have to act. Not very good, I'm afraid. You know, Rachel, I always thought that instead of being some kind of strange woodcutting performance artist, I would be much better off like as a real lawyer like you.
Typical. Why does everyone always think they would be a great lawyer? Everyone except me.
Don't be so pessimistic, darling.
Oh, hi. Of course I'm pessimistic, dear husband. Who studied for 10 years? Who got fired from her first cabinet position when she got pregnant the first time?
It doesn't matter. We have enough. I've been feeding you so long now. We can travel the world in a sailing boat. We put the kids in some long-distance schooling program. They have very highly ranked ones in Australia.
But what about my Pilates?
I would be quite happy if you see your Pilates coach a bit less often.
And where will I get my essential bergamot oil when we are in the middle of the Pacific?
Oh, we will grow it ourselves. We will buy an island and hire the locals to work on our plantation. We can grow bergamot and coffee, sugar, rubber, cocoa beans.
You are so sick, Peter. We have a politically correct artist from the book listening here. I'm so sorry, Fabian. My husband is just an old neoliberal colonialist, plastering the world with his office blocks and shopping malls.
That's my wife, you see. I work so she can protest against capitalism.
Oh, there, look, that's Dr. Strohhalm.
Who's Dr. Strohhalm?
He's Austria's leading hip surgeon. If it weren't for him, like half of the people in this room would be sitting in wheelchairs by now.
Interesting that he's talking to Van der Bellen. Do we have elections again soon?
Oh, look! There she is! It's starting! It's starting!
The two presidents holding their drinks back off as the TV crew enters the hallway, walking backwards, their cameras glued onto a tall, slender, white-haired woman with a Mediterranean tan, a dazzling red silk scarf, pearl earrings, followed by two bodyguards in sunglasses. Christine Lagarde, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund.
Oh, she looks amazing. You know, she was a really good swimmer in her youth. She was on the French national team. I'm sure she has great sex.
You too, darling. You did 2 kilometers today.
Yes, but what about the great sex? And I don't run the International Monetary Fund.
Everyone knows she's going to resign at the end of the month. She's applying for the presidency of the European Central Bank. It's a much lighter position, closer to Paris for her. And she only has 2 kids. Christine Lagarde proceeds to shake hands with the 2 presidents. First Heinz, then Alexander. She shakes hands with the cattle ranchers, the landowners, the milk barons, and then the servants are already hurrying to take away our drinks and our half-eaten sandwiches, like they know we're not going to finish them anyway. Excuse me, sir, can I please have your sandwich? Mrs. Lagarde is shortly beginning her speech. Madam, your sandwich? Certainly you may finish your sandwich. I will be coming back. Please proceed to the upstairs banquet hall. Mrs. Lagarde is now beginning her keynote speech. Sir, your drink, are you done with the drink? Thank you very, very much. Madam, your sandwich. Sir, with the wheelchair, please proceed behind the stairs. There's an elevator. You can use the elevator. Otherwise, stairs left and right. Please proceed to the upstairs banquet hall. Sir, can I finish your drink for you? Thank you. Please proceed to the upstairs banquet hall. Mrs. Lagarde will be shortly beginning her speech. Madam, your sandwich, are you done with it? Very good job, well done, thank you for that. Mrs. Lagarde is now beginning her keynote address. The former president of the Republic, dear Heinz, Mrs. Fischer, the president of the Republic, Herr Dr. van der Bellen, ladies and gentlemen, investors, consultants, I see a distinguished ambassador of Israel, Mrs. Steinberg, is amongst us tonight. Very good to have you here. Mr. Prosser, head of the Tyrolean Fisheries, a good evening to you. Mrs. Novotny, it is nice to have you here as well. All the ministers, diplomats, scientific advisors, programmers, cattle ranchers, consultants, landowners, milk barons. It is a great honor for me to announce today my candidacy for the presidency of the European Central Bank in this distinguished company. My message to you is actually very simple. Globalization. Globalization. Globalization has gone too far. Starting here in Europe, we urgently need to rebalance offshoring and reshoring, mobility and proximity, nobility and agility. We need to reduce our dependency on Chinese exports and reinvest in manufacturing of critical medical supplies and heavy industry Steinberg, who, and I'm sure that you will agree with me, that across the Middle East region, we urgently need to strengthen women's rights and reduce dependency on fossil fuel extraction. Because you know what? There's no real gain when money flows like champagne. Africa! Africa! Where these beautiful drums originally come from. Bongo! Africa! You need to break free from your agricultural value chains and embrace the 21st century. I need you to closely monitor the growth of your population, increase education, and fast-track digitalization. Because, you know what? Money doesn't grow on trees. Globalization! Globalization has gone too far. Globalization! Globalization has gone too far. Latin America! Latin America! It's great to see you again. And you have had a fantastic decade of explosive economic growth. So now is the time for you to start redressing economic inequalities and strengthening the rights of your indigenous communities. Because you know what? Money doesn't come from picking the pockets of the poor. North America. North America. I know you're here, even if you're not listening. I like you, North America. I really do. But if I had one single policy wish for you, it's that you restart democracy now. Money doesn't come from pointing your gun. Globalization! Globalization has gone too far. Globalization! Globalization has gone too far. Asia! Beautiful Asia! So nice to see you again, and I have to say we have all learned a lot from you and your fantastic rise to the pinnacle of world influence. And I have learned one especially interesting fact from you, which is that these beautiful drums here, which originally come from Africa, were actually made in Asia. If you look here, afterwards I invite you to take a look. Made in Thailand. This, dear Asia, is my message to you. You urgently need to stop cultural appropriation, respect international intellectual property regulation, and restart native innovation. Because you know what? Money doesn't come from acting dumb. Last but not least, Australia. Hope you can hear me, Mr. Morrison, hiding on the other side of the globe. Hey, Mr. Morrison. Hey, Mr. Morrison. Everything I have said about the other economic regions applies to you too. But especially, I need you to wake up to the reality of climate change. Because you know that you all love music as much as I do, I would like to finish with a quote from your most famous composer, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, who in his days brought the musical spices of globalization back to imperial Austria. Mozart said that the silence, Mozart said, I think I was talking with Erasmus of Rotterdam, who was silent in his monastery for many years. But Mozart famously said that the music is not in the notes, but in the silence between them. To which I would only like to add that the future of money in this coming decade of 2020 is not in the banknotes, but in the silence between them. Thank you very much for your spontaneous voluntary applause, which I'm sure Ms. Lagarde would have appreciated very much. Unfortunately, she had to leave already. She was escorted straight after her speech by her two securities to her black SUV. I personally think it's quite remarkable when you hear this, when you remember this, that just 6 months after her landmark speech, globalization was indeed shut down. And it hasn't fully reopened until today. Peter and Rachel, they actually did set out on their beautiful sailing trip. And I believe they are still stuck somewhere in the Indian Ocean between the shopping malls of Manila and Kuala Lumpur without landing rights. But hey, I think, beneath a big empty sky, waves, dolphins, and especially no kids, they're probably enjoying, for once, a moment of real silence. As for myself, I'm really glad I listened to Christine's advice. You probably all know, and you experienced it yourselves, that when we got locked down by the governments across the world, around the world, locked up in our homes and apartments, people kind of started to go crazy about domestic economy, like household stuff. Bread baking, pizza making, Marie Kondo style room cleaning, and especially home improvement, big thing which people went to in these last months. And if, like me, you are an avid reader of the Financial Times, you will probably have noticed that since March, the global aggregate demand for lumber, for wood, for wooden decking, wooden shelves, window frames, cabins, attic beams, has gone through the roof. And so, I think to myself, isn't it good that in my life, I've only ever invested in wood?
Thank you very much.